Thank you for letting me interview you. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you pretty well. It's a little echoey, and I'm very deaf. I'm really not good with my ears. So, if I don't understand something, be prepared for me to say what.
Okay. Yes, I remember reading about that. So, basically, most of my viewers will not have heard of Rising in Love, and so I'm just going to say that this is a book. We're interviewing today. We're interviewing Ramdas Bachelder today about Rising in Love, which is a book about Amma, the hugging nun in India, and about his experiences, his journey as one of her disciples, but also his whole journey before he actually arrived there, and which is absolutely fascinating. And just very quickly, it's got 5 stars on Amazon, is that right?
Well, yes, it's got a 5-star rating. It's got 63 5-star reviews on Amazon.
Wow.
And so people are really loving it, and it's selling very well.
That is wonderful. And our own Russell Brand has actually given it a review, beautiful book by an adorable lunatic about the incomparable Amma. I love it. I love it.
I'm flattered to be called an adorable lunatic like Russell Brand.
Well, I love the references that you make to us lunatics, us people with mental health problems. And I love the way that you said that actually in the Eastern world, people who start to have visions and see God everywhere and hear voices are told to go to an ashram and meditate and get a guru. But unfortunately in the Western world, where half the population are being told that they're mad and being put on drugs and stuck into asylums. So I didn't know that about the Eastern world, but I think it's really, really important to highlight that in the interview. So tell us about the book. It's Mark, isn't it? Or do you go by the name Ramdas?
Well, actually, yeah, I go by the name Ramdas. Everyone, including the grandparents, calls me Ramdas these days.
They call you Ramdas these days.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us about the book, because as I say, most of my viewers are not aware of the book yet, and I think it'd be wonderful if you could just give us a general idea for them.
Well, it's my autobiography, really, but the main focus is on my years with Amma, the hugging saint, who I met in 1987. And it also has a substantial section, as you mentioned, about the years before I met Amma, when I had a very powerful and profound spiritual awakening, but I didn't know anything about spirituality at the time. And so I went from in my views when I was about 20, 21, to suddenly hearing God's voice, discovering that God was real, and becoming quite deluded about it. I was actually smoking heaps of marijuana. That was my primary spiritual path at the time. And it was very, very powerful for me. This is not a pro-drug book. It also, the fact that I was using marijuana drove me very close to insane, so I finally had to quit completely. But in those days, when I would smoke marijuana, I would have these very profound experiences and a direct union with God, and even I guess it was the Kundalini was rising in a certain kind of way, that I would glow with a visible light, that people who had never before seen an aura would see a glow around me. And so this was very exciting for my ego. I thought I was something very special.
Yes.
In fact, for a while I thought I was a Messiah. Because I had an experience of meeting an angel, and God was speaking to me, and I was glowing with a visible light. I mean, what else could it be? I had no other possible explanation. And largely that is because of, you could say, the stupidity of my upbringing. Or just you could say the cultural ignorance, in the culture I grew up in. we didn't know anything about saints. I didn't know anything about enlightenment. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And the whole spiritual path was completely hidden from me. And so when I started having these extremely powerful experiences, I didn't have any other context to put it in, other than the Messiah story, which I had learned in church, of course, but had, rejected along with everything else I heard in church. But suddenly, the reality of it was hitting me over the head with just like a ton of bricks, and so I became quite confused and deluded, and I went through a couple of years of, kind of borderline craziness, of seriously on a manic phase, you could say, where I thought I was a Messiah, and then I went through a couple of very serious depressions also. Where the Messiah illusion fell away, and I plummeted into the despair of, oh my God, what have I done with my life? I've gone completely insane. I thought I was a Messiah? What kind of idiot must I be? I saw myself through the eyes of my parents and other people who thought, wow, I'm so crazy. And suddenly I realized, oh my God, I did go crazy. What a horrible fate this is. What an idiot I am. And, then after walking through very intense depression for some 6 months, coming right back out of it into another Messiah phase where the divine energy had come upon me again, and it was quite something to live through that. But by the grace of God, I did live through it and didn't end up killing myself, and discovered meditation.
Yes.
And once I discovered meditation, which I didn't take a course in it. Somebody just said, oh, we have a meditation room here, why don't you give it a try? And I just sat down and very quickly discovered, oh my God, this is fantastic. I don't need marijuana anymore.
That came across in
very quickly my delusion fell away. Once I quit smoking marijuana, and I got established on in a spiritual practice, which was simple meditation. I would just sit and pray and close my eyes and just watch what would happen in my body, and my mind would become quite deeply centered in God, and I would have beautiful experiences. And I was like, okay, finally I get it. And then I discovered, very soon thereafter, I discovered books about the saints of India. For instance, Be Here Now, by the American Ram Dass, the more famous one.
You said he came to your college when you were younger, but you had absolutely no interest in spirituality at all.
Not at all when I was younger. And I rejected it. I thought it was baloney. In fact, the same Ram Dass, the guy who's now in a wheelchair, he came to my college when I was there, and I was like, I couldn't care less. I don't know what that crap is, but it's baloney as far as I can tell, and I didn't even go.
Actually, your book is very funny, and the way you describe all the things you got up to when you were young, putting the string across the road and stuff like that, and urinating and then getting beaten up and mooning and stuff like that. And there's little anecdotes to how you were as a kid.
I was a very ordinary young American boy, and most of my mind was about sex and mischief. There was nothing particularly special about me. My parents they're both now reverends. They both went to Yale Divinity School, so that gave us a certain kind of they spoke in very complete sentences, let's put it that way. So we were raised with a certain level of intelligence, and they did bring us to church with a lot of dedication, with a lot of discipline. We were brought to church, but they didn't really believe what we were being told in church, and I didn't believe it either. They were too smart for the fundamentalists. Christian thing, and they basically they really don't believe any of it. That's the truth. But they brought us for morality, to learn the ways of being a good person, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate that I wasn't raised by fundamentalists, because I think that's much harder to break out of. At least we were given an open mind and the freedom to question. This we were given, the freedom to question baloney and call it what it is.
To be able to think in a different way. But let's go back to your first experience of spirituality as a young boy. And you said you were at the dentist, and you were having gas. They gave you gas, and you had this experience. How old were you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I was 8 or 6 or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 7 or 8. Yeah, and. I had a rather large gap in between my two front teeth, and they said, we've got to cut a tendon that's keeping the teeth from growing together. So that was what the surgery was about. And they gave me laughing gas. And I remember it very distinctly because it was a very powerful experience. I found myself way out of my body in the universe and spinning around. And I think that laughing gas brings this kind of motion. Anyway,
so
spinning around in this ecstasy, and instead of the throbbing of pain, the throbbing was the spinning, going around this fantastic whirligig ride. And I remember looking at my human self in the dentist chair and thinking, this is the funniest thing. The absurd idea that I am the little boy in the dentist chair it's so funny because I know now what I am. I am this infinite vastness that is made of bliss. And I'm so vast and so exquisitely divine and having so much fun that the idea that I was that little boy in the chair was just hysterical. And this is why I was laughing.
But then you didn't follow on. You carried on using a lot of marijuana and getting a lot of experiences of seeing God all over the place.
Eventually that started. Yes.
And then one day you ended up going to your you got into acting, into theatre. This is very parallel with my life, except I never took drugs. With me it was food. I was a food addict. But I never saw God. I never saw anything. But then you got into theatre and you got quite serious into theatre. But one day you went to your teacher and you told him you've had enough and you're going to follow the spiritual life. You're literally going to leave everything behind, and this is what's calling you, this spiritual life. Is that right?
Well, yes, I had been having a sort of spontaneous spiritual awakening, even with marijuana. Well, I was having more and more profound experiences of the divinity that is pervading everything, and everything I looked at, I was sort of God and everything I saw. And it was such a powerful thing, and I was like, oh my God, I was having so many powerful experiences. I was just like, I can't do this and also try to be in a professional theater training program. It just seems like I have to give myself completely to this awakening, and I want to get out of this
Hello?
Yeah, I have to stop.
Of course. And then you discovered A Course in Miracles and Elizabeth Clare Prophet. As I say, my journey is so similar. The Violet Flame and A Course in Miracles, and they're so powerful. So you went to, you started to work on the Violet Flame and did the invocations, and you started to get that sense of peace and being connected to everything through the Violet Flame. Is that right?
Well, it was useful for me for a while to do those invocations. Shall I give an example? I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, do like alone I bow. I am the violet flame, blazing like a sun. I am the sacred fire, creating every hour.
Yeah, I love it.
I was doing some affirmations, and they're powerful. And one day I was alone in my little studio apartment in Brooklyn. I was chanting another affirmation to the blue flame of the Archangel for that one. And the door of my oven blew open, and a tongue of blue flame leapt into the room 3 feet long.
That is a real manifestation.
Yes, it was a fantastic manifestation.
I love
wow, what was that? Like
I love the way everything in the book is showing you something. Like Greg Braden talks about the world around us. Whatever happens to our cars or anything is manifesting what's going on inside us, and is a sign in some way of our journey. I love the story about the jacks, that you found the jack in the car, and whenever anything goes wrong, you always realize that there is no wrong. Wrong is only there in order to show us the light, and it's all A Course in Miracles, and very, very similar to everything that I'm learning myself. So go on then. So you got into the Violet Flame and the Blue Flame.
Yeah.
And were you never scared of it?
And I was also doing psychotherapy. I mean, this was very important for me at a certain stage. It kept me from, it helped me, find my way out of my craziness and keep me from committing suicide, and finally led me to spirituality. It was that bridge between my crazy spirituality and my sane spirituality. It was psychotherapy, so that was very helpful. It helped me.
And you were very, very lucky. You're very lucky that your parents were determined to keep you out of the asylums when you were going through all of this.
Absolutely. Yes, I really have been blessed with amazing parents, and they were very, very kind to walk with me through my craziness. Even when I was very angry at them and blaming them for everything, they did their best to keep me out of mental hospital and keep me and pay for my therapy. I mean, they paid just so much money to keep me insane, and so I'm very grateful for that. They deserve angels' wings, I'm sure.
So you found a spiritual counselor that believed in you, that believed that what you were going through was spiritual awakenings.
That's right. She understood spirituality. She knew the Course in Miracles. She knew God, and she knew about reincarnation. So suddenly I had found someone who could understand what I was going through, because previously it was like I was the only one in my entire world who knew anything about what I was going through, and it put me in a very sort of strange position, because the knowledge I was receiving was so potent and so true that everybody around me thought I was just crazy. They didn't understand it. So to find someone wise who understood the basics and confirmed for me what I was going through, but helped me sort of find the right context for it, this was very healing, very beneficial.
Now, I love your little anecdotes of going crazy. The bit about God taking your marbles, polishing them and giving them back to you. That is so amazing, because I have also got a mental illness, and half the people in the UK are being diagnosed, and I think it's really important to show them, all these beautiful anecdotes of yours, and that made me laugh. That reminded me of Peter Pan, with, I can't remember his name, but he keeps losing his marbles. One of the characters. I can't remember his name, but that touched me, and all the nutcases that you say come to Alma and everything. But anyway, moving on, why Alma? I mean, how did you get into that? How were you attracted to her ashram and everything?
Well, I met Alma in 1987 when she first came to the USA, and it's kind of a long story, but I went to a Buddhist center and told them I was interested in becoming a monk, even though I was living with a woman at the time, and my first good girlfriend.
Yes.
But so I told this she was actually a Zen nun. I told her I really wanted to go to India and become a monk, and she said, "Oh, there's a saint coming from India. Why don't you come and meet her in a couple of months? She's coming to our center in Boston." So I went to Boston, and there's this little brown woman up on stage singing devotional music, and it was very powerful music. And then afterwards, people were going up in this little line to receive a hug from her. I thought, well, this is really funny. So I got on the queue, and I'm just as I get like 3 people away from her, this is Amma, the hugging saint, I start feeling this heat in my body, like this divine energy that seems to be coming from her. And this is pretty bizarre. What is going on here? So then I come up here, and she gives me a very beautiful, intimate hug, and she dips her finger in sandal paste and puts it here on my forehead for just a few seconds and looks right in my eyes, and it's very sweet. And I get this flash of lightning in my brain. And I eat the piece of chocolate that she gave me, and I'm still seeing lightning flashing through my brain, and I'm like, well, this is really something, and I was like, you know what, I better stay one night and see her again the next day. And someone told me, oh, there's an opportunity to ask her questions. So I said, well, let me ask her about becoming a monk, So I stayed overnight in my car, and called into work sick the next day, and then went to the next program. And all night long, my brain was filled with these flashing lightning bolts. I wasn't sleeping well because I just apparently from the touch of a finger, I had this light show going on in my brain. I was like, this is not an ordinary human being. I don't know what exactly we have here. But, so then the next day, there were about 35 people in the room. It was, her first year there. And I thought to myself, well, instead of going right up for the first hug, why don't I sit here and just watch everybody going and imagine that I'm the one that's going up for the hug. So this way I can have 35 hugs.
Yeah.
So I sat there watching and imagining all these hugs, and after about 15 minutes, I'm going into a very beautiful bliss state, having all these hugs in my imagination. Now, when I finally get up to Amma for my own hug, she looks at me and she sees the sandal paste mark from the night before, because I hadn't even had the sense to wash my face, let alone take a shower. And she looks at me and says, "Oh, already had darshan." This is as if, you're trying to sneak in for seconds. What is this? And I said, no, this is from last night. He said, oh, okay. And he said she could hug anyway, but sort of gave me a suspicious look. And afterwards I thought, well, if she didn't really know, if she really didn't know that she hadn't hugged me already that morning, well then this is not my guru, because I know my guru, whoever it is one with God, omniscient, never misses anything. But maybe she was actually telling me that she knew that I had been out there imagining that I was receiving 30 hugs, and therefore she had already given me a hug.
Yeah.
And that was the truth of the matter, but it was too much for me to grasp. She's too subtle. You would be expecting someone who's there as a saint to be sort of showing off her divinity, right? Be sort of impressing everyone with how omniscient she really is. You wouldn't expect them to be actually hiding and sort of pretending not to know something that she obviously did know. This was more than I could understand, She was actually testing whether I had the wisdom to see through her disguise into the goddess that is right within that disguise. And this is still the case with her. She really embodies the Divine Mother of the universe. She embodies omniscience and infinite love.
So she sees into people's souls, and she knows exactly what they need to learn. So she's able to give you that message. Is that what you mean?
That's absolutely right. In other words, the image, one of the images I like to use to understand Amma is that she's like the infinite ocean of consciousness. And each one of us is like a little wave on that ocean. And she appears to be just another wave. But there's no ego in her. There's no barrier between her human self and the entirety of that infinite ocean.
So she
is already within each one of us. So the ocean is already within all the waves. So she knows all about us. She knows everything about us. So when we come before her, we're like, she sees her own self, and she sees everything we've been through. She knows every moment that we've lived, and we are herself. We are her beloved children.
So in a way, it's when you talk about the healings that she's done, that people with cancer have gone and been hugged and and been healed. It's very much like Jesus. That Jesus never saw anything but health and love. And of course, the Miracles tells us that there is no death, there is no illness, there is no disease. So she's on that same vibration. That's what you're saying. That she is on the same vibration that Jesus and Buddha and all these, higher beings that we aspire to our brothers and sisters, as Jesus would like to say in A Course in Miracles, and I like that. And so she's on that same vibration where you say in the book, from the time she was born, more or less, she was meditating. That she was already meditating,
she was born. She was born with the knowledge that only God is real. She was born with that, and she was born with a smile on her face, and she didn't cry when she was born. And within 6 months she was walking. So she was a very full little baby. she was a divine incarnation, and there's no doubt for me that's the truth. Although she does not get up and declare I am a divine incarnation, I'm the Savior. She just simply says, I'm your servant, and I'm your mother, and come and I'll help you, I'll give you compassion. And she demonstrates what she is by her daily life. You watch her for just 2 days, and you can't help but be amazed and impressed by this is divinity in action.
So she completely turned your life around. I mean, forgive me if I say this, because I'm talking about myself here, that I started out, as I say, I had an eating disorder, then I went on to the stage, and then in a way, I got addicted to lots of other things. And up until nearer the end of the book, it feels like you're addicted to her. You're addicted to her hugs. You can't live without the hugs. And then suddenly you realize, hang on a second, that's not it. She's everywhere. You know, she's that consciousness, that love, and you felt that it was touching you everywhere you went. So you didn't need to be with her physical body. You knew that she was everywhere, and that's when that realization must have happened, that you don't need to be addicted anymore, because it was everywhere.
There's the addiction to the Guru's presence is the addiction that heals you of all other illnesses. And then finally, you're set free from that addiction as well. It's like it's revealed to you that of course the Guru was omnipresent and the Guru was actually your true self. So finally everything falls away but the supreme reality, which is your own true being. Not something that you're getting from someone else. It's not like that. But the Guru embodies that supreme reality, who you truly are. And so contact with the Guru of whatever kind, devotion to the Guru, that leads you to the discovery of your own true nature as being one with God. So then you don't need anything anymore. Then you become one who sheds light to other beings. But the grace of the Guru and contact with the Guru can lead you to that state.
She's able to manifest that consciousness that we call pure love, that Jesus talks about in the Course in Miracles, like he's on that vibration.
And she never leaves that state. That's my experience of her, is that she's established in that so fully and so permanently that her vessel is always overflowing. She goes 20 hours a day and sleeps for 1 hour or 2 hours and is back the next day to do the same exact thing. And while she's giving these hugging programs, she's also running a huge charitable network.
Yes, I love
amazing work all around the world, and especially in India. But wherever there's a natural disaster in the world, she will send a team of volunteers. She will send money, clothes, food, medicine. And even $1 million she gave to the victims of Hurricane Katrina in the USA. This is from India. But
you talked about tsunami and all of that. You talked about tsunami, that she supports a lot of the families, and you were actually in that. You were actually there when it happened, when the tsunami happened?
Yes, I was there. My wife and I were there when the tsunami hit. We were up on the 10th floor in our apartment in the ashram, and we didn't even realize what had happened. But maybe it was only half an hour after the tsunami had come in that I went out of the balcony and saw, oh my, what's going on? The river is full of all this garbage and all. Walk and funk, what happened? And I thought maybe somebody upriver had dumped a whole bunch of junk into the river. But one of our neighbors said, oh no, didn't you hear there was a tsunami? And there's another wave coming, and then I go running down and I see, wow, the ashram is full of three.
I think I'm losing you.
And Amma is wading through the water, giving urgent instructions to her disciples to go out running into the community to save anybody they can save, because people drowned in the area.
Yeah.
There were something like 6 deaths in the peninsula where the ashram was located. None of Amma's devotees died, but there were people who were living in the community didn't suffer very much. And so there were old people trapped in buildings. And so her disciples come running out to take care, and she had everybody come across the river into her university campus. So she gave shelter to the whole community. And immediately started giving 3 meals a day to everybody and shelter to anybody who needed it. And then they started immediately to build a new set of shelters for anybody who had lost their homes. And these shelters were completed within 3 days. And Whereas the government, because of the usual red tape, was really not able to do much. They were just arguing and, politicizing everything, but nobody not doing anything. And so Amma was able to immediately go and do what was necessary. And, we were out there serving food. There were, I don't know, maybe 10 going to work with local villagers to come and get 3 meals a day. And we were participating in that. And doctors were there. Amma has a hospital right at the ashram, and also a very big and excellent hospital a few hours away. And so doctors had come, and they were setting up free medical clinics for everybody. And
but for yourself, that must have been a really frightening experience, going through all of that.
I wasn't frightened. But God knows, for the villagers who lost their family members, it was horrifying. Yeah. The mothers lost their babies, and children lost their parents, and horrifying. There's the videos. One of the things the ashram did was set up a mass funeral where all the bodies would be burned, and they could, the last rites of everybody could be given. And it's pretty sad. You're watching a coffin with a little baby in it, of a young boy who has to do the funeral for his father who died, So of course it's horrifying. And one of the things that Amma did, one of the many things, was there were mothers who lost their only children in the tsunami, and Amma, and these were ladies who had their tubes tied to prevent further births, and then they lost their only children. So what Amma did was she asked her main hospital to give these ladies new operations to untie the tubes and make it possible for them to give birth again.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
And so there's interviews with these ladies who have been able to give birth again, and their gratitude that they feel.
So, the thing I really would love to ask is, I'm very open-minded about everything, and I believe in the power of love. I believe in prayer. I believe that we can heal anything, especially if we don't see the illness, as I said, in anyone. But why do we not know about her? I have heard about her on and off, about the hugging saint, but there are so many people that are sick and dying and in the Western world, and yet, why is it not out there? Do you understand what I mean? What's stopping all of this getting out there? Because we need, and also the other question was, can she train people to do what she does with whatever can she actually get people to that level where, obviously you're doing it with your book, and I'm doing it with my TV station. I'm hoping to make people happy and to raise the vibration and do the opposite of what the media is doing, to show us, which is showing us what we're not anymore. But what I'm trying to say is we need more ways of getting out there to the ordinary person that's walking up and down the street here, and explaining to them that you don't have to suffer. So, does she run training programs of any kind where she trains people up? I know you didn't get accepted as a monk, and she laughed.
Well, in a way, her ashram is like that. She's not training us all to go out and give hugs to everybody, but she's training us to attain the state of God realization. That's the ultimate goal of life, and the goal for all of us, to attain that state of merging in God, where we can become pure instruments of the divine. But it's not such an easy goal to attain. It's something that may take lifetimes to attain. Saints are rare; they're few and far between, and divine incarnations are even fewer. And so I would be lucky if I can actually become a saint in this lifetime. It's a fantastic quest, and I do my best to meditate every day and to do my best to merge and to become one with God. But it's a slow process. I can certainly testify that it's not so easy to suddenly become a saint. So that's one of the things that she's offering. The training people really wants to attain realization. Well, you come here, serve, learn the ways of purity and divinity, and do your best. And by serving the guru and becoming part of this mission, where she's creating a tremendous amount of good karma, by contributing, you gain some of that karma for your own spiritual quest. So that is definitely one aspect. And the other aspect is, don't wait to become God realized. Start serving now at whatever level you're at, and you're doing a beautiful job with your TV station.
That's
it's exactly that. Whatever light you have, bring that candle out and shine it, because the world desperately needs people who are willing to speak up for spirituality and speak up for love and bring.
That actually came across so strongly for me. I woke up this morning and I sent you that email because I was very depressed yesterday. Because I was too stuck in what comes next and how and what, and I just came in today with an open heart and metaphorically was hugging everyone, and it was so powerful to be able to do that, thanks to the book and thanks to what came up inside of me, which was amazing. We just go out there and do the work and just see what happens. Don't worry about it.
I mean, everybody's got their song to sing, and I think you're singing your song beautifully. And the more that we do this, the more beautiful the song becomes. When we have the courage to step out and share our truth and speak up for God, speak up for light and love, and contribute in whatever way we can, the world becomes more beautiful. But God knows, the internet is an amazing tool for light and love if we use it that way, but it's also an amazing tool for the powers of darkness that want to confuse us and feed us and
but then
hypnotize us with garbage. So we have to speak up even more clearly now.
But then it's a beautiful way.
Our very best.
Sorry, it's beautiful the way you open the book with the darkness, and then as the book unfolds, we understand that the darkness is only there in order to bring in the light. It's the opposite. So it shows us what we are not anymore, what we're not anymore. I had this conversation with someone about angels today.
Ultimately it's all God's play. And so to be able to see God's play within the light and the dark, and therefore love everybody without me discriminating until you're not worthy of love. No, everyone is worthy of love. Everything is worthy of love. And to keep rising higher and higher in that love until we see that there's really nothing but love. And then we embody that love that shines out to everybody. I mean,
it was like when I was reading, it was like you were looking inside me as well, and the way you describe when we have an awakening, it's like, oh my God, I'm so amazing. And then this beggar walks into the house, into this room, and they're sleeping on the streets. They got no food, no money, and they're sleeping in the cold, and I couldn't do that. And it's suddenly, total humility, and I love the way you describe that in the book. I also like the way you say that you do these amazing meditations, and it's like, wow, I'm so in there. And then the next day, boom. You're right back again to you know what I mean? It's like we're human beings.
It's like that, isn't it?
You have to keep going and going and going. So it's beautiful.
That's right. You have to just persevere and keep surrendering to the Supreme Being and have faith. And you have to walk through some hard times.
Brilliant.
And it's not an easy path. It's not an easy path, but it's the path of devotion is very sweet, and we have that love. We have that, even that love carries us through the dark moments.
So you said there's a possibility, there's a big possibility now of a film. I can see that. It's so obvious, it's so visual, the whole thing. So who's going to play you? Who would you like to play you?
I don't know. We have to find the next young Brad Pitt. It's got to be. And hopefully Oprah can play Amma.
Oprah can play, of course, Amma, yeah. How old is Amma, by the way, in mortal youth?
I think Amma is 62
is she
years
really?
old.
She doesn't look it at all.
Yeah, and still going, all night long and do these programs that, it's just superhuman energy. There's no doubt that she's not a human being. There's something much, much more powerful working through her. And, I was sitting with Amma in India a couple of months ago in one of these programs she does in India where she's giving hugs to 40,000 people a day. Some of the Indian programs are huge, and she goes all day, on a break. Maybe she'll take a 5-minute break, but still, but we're looking at something absolutely incredible. And the amount of bliss that gets generated, and the amount of devotion that gets generated in these programs is just, it's palpable. You know, you can really feel, wow, she's just uplifted so many people in one day. And the joy that's generated is amazing. And it just occurred to me really deeply, well, you know, this has never really been done before in history. There have been many masters, of course. There have been great saints, and there have been divine incarnations, and there have been Buddha, and there's been Jesus, and there's been Krishna, and many others. But nobody has ever before given 30 million hugs.
30 million
You know,
hugs.
it's something new. This is like so completely accessible. I mean, there are great masters, but it's very about touch them. You know, you maybe see them for 5 minutes a day or something like this. So it's very rare to find a master at all. But a master who you can hug every day,
30 million.
a master who's just in with the masses, giving everything she can to uplift everyone. I mean, there's no limit. It's just like this is something new. It's, although, of course, it's the same essence as Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, but this is something, I mean, you know, this is something extraordinary.
Yes.
It's something really extraordinary. Oh, I'm thrilled to be connected.
As I say, it's completely changed your life, and you know, you've had a completely different journey to the one that you thought you were going to have. So,
Oh, absolutely.
and so you've written quite a few children's books as well. And do you think you might be writing another one now about you know, for adults, or are you going to stop for a little while and take a breather and just relax?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm not somebody who writes every day. I write when I get the inspiration, and I feel sort of an inner command from Amma to write this book, and I get the clue, and I go, okay, I'll start. But otherwise, it's that kind of meditation. You know, that for me is the priority. Is that making a direct effort to attain God realization, not just sitting meditating. But so I don't know what will happen. I do have a couple of other children's books that are in the hands of artists. The text is finished, and then the artist, but to get the artist to come up with 25 paintings is not such an easy thing. So we'll see, when the art is finished, then I'll jump on the designing the book and editing the art and putting it together. But it's up to God to see, you know, whether God really wants to finish that art or not. I don't know.
Well, this is
And as far as I don't know. At this point, I'm happy to have the time to meditate. So last fall, I could say was the possibility of having the book made into a film. I mean, that would be fantastic.
That's going to be very exciting.
That would be awesome.
Very exciting.
Because as the best wisdom I have is really in this book. You know, so to be able to bring this to the world in a big way would be a great blessing.
It's wonderful. I think the message, every child should be brought up with the knowledge from A Course in Miracles and the philosophies that we don't, you know, you're never upset for the reason you think, and what you think is bad, you know, there is no such thing as bad and good, and we don't know the meaning of anything, and that everything that happens that we think is a negative is actually leading us to enlightenment, and it's just so incredible. It's like turning the world is completely upside down in that teachings, changing all our beliefs around, and I think children would benefit a hell of a lot if they were brought up with those philosophies rather than the beliefs we are brought up with that cause us so much suffering because we're so attached to what we think is right. And
no, I fully agree, and the opportunity to share high knowledge with the world is there, and we should take it. Whenever we can, we should be able to spread light and wisdom that liberates. And there is that truth, and the truth is liberating. But boy, it's hard to find in the modern world. You know, it's there, but there's so much junk. And the media is so strong and so attractive and so hypnotizing. With, you know, all the stuff that draws us into ignorance.
Yes.
And,
So that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to counteract. I'm trying to create a positive media, a media where everyone is important, and give everybody back the positive, the self-esteem, and show them that the media is trying to show them all the time depression and violence and everything they're not. And I'm trying to show them the opposite. And just very quickly, so how did you meet Russell Brand? That must have been a bit of an experience. How did you meet him, and how did that all that happen?
Say this again, this question?
How did you meet Russell Brand? How did you meet him?
Oh.
How did that happen?
Yeah, he was at Amma's ashram at New Year's this year. He's met Amma several times, and I guess he's becoming more and more a devotee of Amma. And so he was at the ashram. I heard he was there, and then I happened to be sitting right next to Amma while she was giving her darshan program, and I see Russell Brand came up to receive a mantra from Amma, and I was sitting right next to this, and a little light bulb went off in my head. Wow, I bet he would really love my book. Because he also went through, of course, major drug issues, and now he's awakening spirituality in a very good way. So, and of course, he's hysterically funny. And my book is also really funny. So I thought, this is really a good match. I thought he would love this.
And he also looks like Jesus.
I wrapped up my book.
Sorry, I was just going to say, he also looks like Jesus. There's both of you, been, with your long hair, and people thought you were Jesus.
Yeah. And he's got this show called Messiah Complex. So he did this Messiah Complex, and I wrote a book. Speaking of the Messiah Complex, honey, I really had one. So I wrapped it up in a piece of paper and brought it to him and gave it to him and gave him a big hug. We had a beautiful long hug, and I said something like, "You're so beautiful, thank you for setting us all free." Because I love his freedom. This is one thing he does embody, is the complete freedom to be whatever he is and say whatever he wants to say in that moment, and behave any way he wants, and I love that. I just think that's fantastic.
It's a total stream of consciousness, isn't
in the context of divinity. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very lucky.
That's my path as well, is bringing out whatever is within you and seeing the divinity within everything without fear, And so we had a beautiful moment of connection, and the next couple of days later, I'll get posted on Twitter and on Facebook a photo of himself reading the book, and to something like 11 million people.
Wow.
So this was rather fantastic.
That's brilliant. So just to finish, if people want to get the book, how can they get it? Because all the proceeds are going to the orphanage in Kerala, and that's embracingtheworld.org, which is Amma's website. That's right.
Yes.
All the proceeds.
Yeah, so all the royalties. Yeah, all the royalties are going to Amma's orphanage, and the website where you go to find the book is www.rising-inlove.org.
Okay.
Rising-inlove.org.
Okay, and you can actually download the ebook, or you can get the physical book on Amazon. Is that right?
Right. Here's the book. It's a lovely, nice, fat, 300-pager. Really nice book.
Beautiful.
So yes, it's available on Amazon from that website. Rising-inlove.org. And all the royalties are going to Amma's orphanage. So it's a beautiful service project.
That's wonderful. That's a really good thing that you're doing. And it's been very exciting interviewing you. Thank you so much. When you get to England, look me up. You must come and visit. I'd love to meet you.
That would be lovely. You're very sweet.
Thank you. I've never been to India yet, but if I do I would love to know. I'd love to meet Amma and experience her hug. I mean, from my point of view, as I say, from my meditations this morning, I started to meditate on her sending me some hugs. Because I tried to explain to you about the word in Hebrew, Ima, is mother. And Amma feels like I am mother. And it's what I've been craving, is that, that motherly hug, that nurturing. And as I think the whole world needs that at the moment. We need a big, massive maternal hug.
Well, you know, Amma comes to London every year. She comes in sometime in October, November. Somewhere there's about 6 weeks where she's in Europe every year. So she comes to London for 3 days. And I think every other year she goes to Ireland also, to Dublin.
And everything is free, isn't it? You see, this is beautiful.
The programs are free. The hug is free, and there are retreats, which she does maybe like during the 6-week U.S. tour. There's 3 retreats or 4 retreats, and the retreats cost something, but not very much. It's basically the same thing.
I think it's so important because you know, one of the things is we have a beautiful Amaravati Buddhist temple near us. And people go there who have nothing, and they can have food and they can stay there, and there's not enough of that in our world. So I think, you know, whatever we can give from the heart. I do a lot of bartering, you know, bartering skills and stuff like that. So whatever we can do from the heart, then I think it's really, really important. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. And
thanks,
Namaste.
You know, I should tell you one more thing, which is that the website to find out more about Amma and more about her teachings and her mission and her tours is www.amma.org. AMA.org. And there's also amma-europe.org.
amma-europe.org.
And there they have, you can find a specific website for her organization in the UK.
Okay, that's wonderful. So thank you very much for that, Ramdas. I'm going to end the interview there. But I just
send you a big hug, Laurene.
Pardon?
I send you a big hug.
Thank you. But what I was also going to say, if you can give a donation to Moving On TV, I'll be very grateful. I have to ask everyone because that's the only way we survive. So let me know if that's a possibility. I'll be very grateful.
All right, I surely will. I surely will.
Okay then, lots of love. Thank you. Bye-bye.